52 Jokers, Episode 3, Craig Gass, New York City.
New York City, New York City, New York City. Get a room.
I got headphones and mics, fans, followers and likes. We're gonna do this right. 51 Jokers and me. Well, you time it, you want it, got it. No subject, off topic.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are tonight's entertainment. I'm in the green room and I'm thinking, took the edge off, a couple drinks in. Finally with my family, our bond is dysfunction. Then I hear my name, I get on stage and lights hit my face. Then butterflies do circulates and my heartbeat starts to race. This feeling, I missed it, though my insides are twisted. The crowd noise is vivid and laughter is addictive.
Where are you at right now, Craig?
At the moment, I am on the East Coast. I'm in New York performing. I've been performing in New York this weekend. I come back to New York about once a month to do sets, and heading home tomorrow to Los Angeles. So
New York is so New York.
It's the best comedians in the world, in my opinion. It's the comics are better. They're sharper, they're faster, they're just funnier, they're better.
I agree with that part of it. I completely, because they can go all night pretty much, just going from room to room if they can get in, right?
Yeah, it's if you really break through in New York and you're a working comic, you're typically working at least 4 or 5 sets a night, bouncing around from club to club, sometimes as many as 7 or 8, especially during prom season. There's these prom shows that will start, like the comedy clubs on Friday and Saturday will go till about 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning. But during prom season, there's these high school kids who come into the city and they rent out comedy clubs. They get a limo and they're like, we're going to go to prom and then we're going to go to a comedy club and watch professional comedians. And it just sucks for everybody because at 2 o'clock in the morning they show up, and these high school kids are like hammered on a party bus. So every one of those shows, there's always at least one kid who either throws up or shits their pants.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they're annihilated. And the other thing is they're all friends, and these dipshits are 17, 18 years old, and they got one guy in their group that they think is funnier than everybody on stage.
Oh.
They're like, Tommy's really funny. Like, Tommy, tell him what's up. And Tommy's just a big mouth dipshit who thinks he's funny. So you get that occasionally, but we get a little extra money doing those prom shows. I actually haven't done a prom show in a few years, but when prom season is around, that's an additional couple of sets that you can do. But typically, for a comedian in New York, you do at least a few sets a night, just bouncing around and working on your material. And it's interesting. You'll do your set and do it exactly the same way 2 times in a row in front of 2 different audiences, and sometimes get 2 completely different reactions, which is interesting.
Isn't that weird? It's like they collectively have the same sense of humor, or they don't have the same sense of humor, and they come to the same show, and they...
as you're getting in front of each crowd, there should be some commonality to your material in terms of the reaction that you get. You know where you're going to get an ooh or an ah, you know where you're going to get a laugh. And you're working on it. You're trying to hone it to be as funny as it can be, and but it's just kind of weird to drop in on a different collection of humans who are out having a fun time tonight, and you're just stopping in for 15 minutes to do your set and go,
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because it's like some of those crowds look like they're having a great time, but you're in and out. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. But But when you love comedy, it's like, oh, this is amazing. I'm in New York, man. I'm out and about in the city. If you have a little bit of time, you can grab something awesome to eat. You're racing back and forth between clubs. I have a rental car now. I used to do it by Subway, which sometimes a Subway just wouldn't show up when it was supposed to, and that would make you feel a little edgy.
Mm-hmm.
After being on a Subway platform once, and the Subway did not show up for like 10 minutes, and it was just me and this dude on the other end of the platform, and I walked over to him, and I was like, hey, do you know what time it is? And the dude looked at me and said, no, I don't, cop. I was like, I'm not a cop. He goes, okay, cop. And he kept yelling at me and saying I was a cop, to where the people on the other side of the Subway who were going in the opposite direction and on the Subway on the other platform were looking over at us like, oh shit, that guy's a cop. And I was like, hey, I'm not a cop, I'm a stand-up comedian. And he's like, yeah, okay, cop. And I was like, listen, man, my name's Craig Gass. You can Google my name, you'll see like 1,000 images of me. I'm a stand-up comedian. And he was like, yeah, okay, cop. And I was like, God, man, it was just demoralizing to think that I look like a narc. It's like, Jesus, dude. But
you got the typical white guy look.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's better for you to stay in the Subway. I really don't think you need to be behind the wheel.
Randy has had some experiences where I think my driving's okay, and it just dawned on me recently that everyone in my life is scared to death to be in a car with me. And I always share that moment that Randy had with me that makes everyone who knows me laugh, which was, I got this buddy named Randy. He's one of my favorite comedians who lives in the Tri-Cities, and after being in a car with me for a little bit, he had to get out and smoke a lot of weed, and he put on his sunglasses, and it was nighttime. He smoked a bunch of weed, put on his sunglasses, jumped back into the car, and said, all right, Craig, do your worst.
It's like you go from New York, and then your place that you live. Your favorite place is New York, but the place you live is Los Angeles, where the motorcycles just cut right through the traffic in between the lines. Both cities are horrible for traffic, so it's not really your fault. You learned in bad places, and Seattle's not much different. But then you had the rain, and our visitors from the north come down and get mixed up in there too, and it's congestion. So,
New York is exciting for driving because you have people who are driving taxis who are coming from third world countries. Like it's not a exaggeration. You have drivers from third world countries that drive where there are no rules. So there's a certain ebb and flow that you kind of understand. That's a lot more aggressive, a little more animalistic, and I kind of enjoy it. When I'm in New York, like this weekend, I love driving around and honking my horn at people and flipping them off. It's fun. It's like I really enjoy doing that. It's like it's
kind of got that Mayberry feel, right?
I think New York makes you a better driver, to be honest. I don't. I am definitely not a passive driver. That is for sure. No one's ever accused me of.
No, you're not at all.
Of getting somewhere fast enough. So I'm always an aggressive driver. So
see, some people that they might be listening and they're thinking, I think I know this guy, and you're kind of like the guy who's everywhere, but a lot of maybe they don't know your face. You're a veteran stand-up comedian for 26 years now.
Yep.
And you have the worst comedy show ever. That was your special that you recorded in Milton, Washington.
Yep, that was the name of the special. Is Worst Comedy Show. We're actually, it's the worst comedy show ever, and it's also called the worst comedy show ever.
It's not the worst. You degrade yourself until so you can only come up, I guess. You're an actor.
Exactly. You totally get it. Like I wanted to lower the bar so much that people would be like, that if anybody had anything to say about it, it's like, well, it's supposed to be the worst.
Yeah, it's the worst. So, I recorded it in a bad place. What do you expect, guy?
Exactly.
You're an actor. You were in Sex and the City. You were the donut guy. You were in King of Queens, Season 7, Episode 4 in Entertainment Weekly, and you were in Pauly Shore is Dead.
Yep.
You're a voice actor on Family Guy, American Dad, and a game show, The Next Best Thing. It didn't really turn out well for that show, I guess.
Yeah, it was The Next Best Thing. The idea behind it was there are these people who look like somebody famous, like they look and sound like Bono. It's not Bono, but it's the next best thing to Bono. That was the name of the show, was Next Best Thing. And
Jeff Ross was in that. What didn't he host it or something?
Yeah, it was Jeff, and Jeff Ross had the best line. This woman, and I met her in the waiting room. I was looking at this woman, and I said, who are you going in to audition as? And she looked at me and said, you can't tell? And I was like, and she got really upset. And then I noticed on her T-shirt, she was wearing like a wife beater. It said Gwen. And I was like, oh. But she was very heavy. But she had the blonde hair like Gwen Stefani, but she was kind of a heavier girl. And she went out and did her audition. And she did sound like Gwen Stefani. But physically, she was just a heavier girl with blonde hair, with like that bleach blonde hair that Gwen used to rock in the early No Doubt days. And like they stopped, and Jeff Ross said, Gwen Stefani, more like Gwen Stromboli.
He is so mean. He loves doing that roast stuff, and he just kills people.
That's Jeff's thing, man. It's like, I'll never forget. I did a roast of Gene Simmons with a bunch of great comedians: Ralphie May, Jeff Ross, Andrew Dice Clay, Lisa Lampanelli. It was all these amazing comedians, and right before the roast started, this incredible rock writer, he's a legendary rock writer named Lon Friend. He launched a magazine in the 80s called Rip Magazine, which just dominated for the next 15 years. It was like the magazine that everyone wanted to be in. Lon Friend came to the roast and said to me before the roast started, hey, Craig, can I talk to you for a second? I want to know, is anyone going to say anything nice about Kevin Dubrow, who was the singer of Quiet Riot, because Kevin Dubrow's body was discovered that day when we started filming. It was this tragic story that Kevin Dubrow had apparently been dead in his apartment for 2 weeks, and his body was just discovered. The news broke that day, so if you were at this event, the roast of Gene Simmons, you were a rock guy, and you knew who Kevin was. So everybody was buzzing about, like, oh man, did you hear about Kevin? Did you hear about Kevin? So this writer comes up to me and says, is anyone going to say anything nice about Kevin Dubrow tonight? And I said, nice? And he said, well, I mean, this room is full of his friends. Like, somebody should say something. And I went, oh man, Lon, this is a roast. I don't know if this isn't an appropriate place to say something nice. Sure enough, the first line of the roast was Jeff Ross.
Oh,
said,
God.
welcome to the roast of Gene Simmons. And everyone went, yeah, Kevin Dubrow wanted to be here, but he took the easy way out.
Oh.
And I looked at the front row, and I could see Lon Friend's face just going, what the fuck? Like the guy was just died, you know? And that's comedy for you. So
That's classic Jeff, too.
It really is. It really is.
He would have disappointed if he would have done it another way.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's it. It's like the roast is supposed to be no holds barred. Like, everything is on the table. Let's go for it. I've been at roast battles in L.A. There was a shooting on the patio of the Comedy Store one night a few years ago. Really sketchy story that some guy had a group of guys walk up to him and shoot him and kill him on the patio of the Comedy Store. and they did a joke about